The latest on the Bryce Harper sweepstakes and the Los Angeles Dodgers secret plan. You ready for it? Wait for it. There it is. That's a secret plan.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Also, don't find somebody who cares for your injury, as the entire Warriors bench doesn't care for Draymond's. That's our panel. Let's go. We'll get to that in a second. We'll start with baseball. And the Bryce goes to... We have no idea. We have no idea right now. I just hope somebody reacts like Samuel L. Jackson does when they finally get him. Phillies made their pitch this weekend. Dodgers reportedly back in it now. Check out the video from Pedro Gomez today at Dodgers spring training. The bridge truck is right there.
Focus.
Giants, White Sox, Padres, Nationals still breathing as well. Bill, I'm going to start with you, though, because you're in L.A. We're starting with the Dodgers. They're pushing the short-term contract, big yearly salary. In what ways would that make sense for Harper?
In every way, Tony, in every way. Number one, he wants to be big off the field. No better place to be a big star than in L.A. Number two, he wants to go to a World Series. Dodgers been to 2 straight of those. Check that box. Number 3, he wants to live close to home. Vegas right down the road. Number 4, he wants to play for an iconic franchise and eventually have a statue in front of a stadium. This is a place for him. I know it's a short-term deal, but he can bet on himself and make much more money in the long term if he does this deal. He needs to come to L.A. and needs to do it now.
That how you see it, Jay Adane?
Well, I also could see it as a last-ditch effort by Scott Boras, his agent, to try to prod a little more money from the Phillies. You know, if he wanted a long-term deal, if this was his goal from the outset, and you're not getting overwhelmed with offers, and what do you try to do? Maybe try to create the appearance of another competitor out there. You just have to wonder whether, if money has been the primary motivator all this time, if he's willing to take a short-term deal. Bill presented a lot of valid reasons, but I think the most valid reasons are going to be the commas and the zeros in that contract.
Kevin Blackistone?
Well, I mean, he's kind of run out of options. I mean, this is it. He always wanted to be in L.A., like Bill said, be right 4 hours drive from home in Las Vegas. So now here's his opportunity. It's not going to be the $350 or $400 million deal that they thought that they were going to get in the offseason. Instead, it's going to be a short-term deal that maybe he can turn into something else. But I do know this, wherever he signs, and it certainly if it's with the Dodgers, he will be the first pro athlete to leave D.C. and come back to D.C. and get booed. Think about it. Doesn't happen much. But remember, the Nats put $300 million on the table a long time ago. He didn't take it. He's going elsewhere.
Think about it. I don't know if I ever thought about whether athletes got booed when they returned to Washington.
Think about
it. I go to you for that, Kevin Blackistone. Frank Isolo, how do you weigh in here?
Well, Bill's logic, that should get booed. Didn't they make the World Series without Bryce Harper? So now you have to overspend. You know, when it gets down to playoffs, it's not about offense.
What do you care? It's not your money.
Pitching, especially in the book. But you said come there and you'll make the World Series. They made it without him, so why are they going to spend this much money? It's clear, though, that he wants to go to the Dodgers, because if he didn't, he would have signed the contract with the Nationals. That's the team that drafted him. And is he really going to go about 100 miles north to play in division with the Phillies? That part of it makes no sense. He's been waiting all along for a combination of the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Red Sox, and the Yankees to come along, and he finally got one of them to bite a little bit, and right now that's...
Flashkey one's back in. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Frank, you're right. They went to the last 2 World Series. They didn't win either one of them. Bryce Harper would put them over the top. That makes it worth it. It's not overspending. It's spending wisely.
But it is intriguing, though, with the short-term
He didn't put his own team over the top.
By comparison, Frank Isola, you're in New York. The Yankees just agreed to terms with Aaron Hicks to play the outfield for 7 years, $70 million. Wouldn't they be wiser to make a run at Bryce Harper and give that $70 million over 2 years? Wouldn't that be something that would be a little bit more intriguing?
100%. I really thought all along that the Yankees were going to get involved. And we know this, Tony. George Steinbrenner, if he was still around, if this is the 80s, the 90s, Bryce Harper is playing for the Yankees right now. This thing would have been wrapped up a long time ago. But I do think he's headed to the Dodgers. That's where he wants
I'm kind of flummoxed by Kevin Blackistone's idea of Washington fans and that they would have to boo Bryce Harper, and whether they do that historically. Although I did read in the Washington Post. Did you guys see the line from Thomas Boswell? Washington Post. Harper now appears on the verge of signing the least satisfying $300 million deal in the history of money. Anatolians are like, Scaramouche, I'll tell you about unsatisfying deals. 3 rocks for that yak. History of money? Get out of here. If he signed for $300 million, it's not going to be unsatisfying.
Be satisfied.
All right.
And then you can buy satisfaction with $300 million.
Absolutely.
If you're not satisfied, go buy something.
We'll move on. Let's talk basketball now. Rockets with no James Harden, 118. Warriors with everybody, 112. What's up with that? And what's up with this? The Warriors, I'm going to call it the rigor mortis lineup right now. Curry, Durant, Green, Clay, Boogie are an overall -1 in the 13 games they played this season. J.A., what'd you see in the loss to Houston? What did you see in the 0-3 against Houston this year? And what did you see in that -1 stat I just gave?
Well, in the game against the Rockets this Saturday, Chris Paul was clearly the most motivated person. He was flying around out there. The Warriors can't seem to find that motivation. It seems like they lose at home on a weekly basis. They're not intent on protecting their home territory. They don't feel like they can prove anything. Kevin Durant even had this sort of dismissive remark like, well, you know, the playoffs are the only thing that matter around here anyways. It's almost like he's taking a shot at the attitude that's permeated that locker room. But the Rockets do present a legitimate threat, and they have to be increasingly confident that they can beat the Warriors. I wouldn't worry too much about the rigor mortis lineup, as you said it, and the poor analytics with that group, because they're still getting used to each other. They still have time to develop some cohesion now that the initial euphoria and excitement and adrenaline from DeMarcus Cousins joining them has worn off.
JB?
Well, but it still goes back to the playoffs last year. So even though this is regular season, even though these games are relatively close, even especially when you look at the statistics other than the final score, they have got to have a lot of confidence. And they did it this time without James Harden. That is absolutely huge. We know that they lost in the playoffs largely because of that hamstring that sent Chris Paul down. And they've got to be thinking if they can just stay healthy, how much better they're going to be against the Warriors this time. And you're right, J.A., maybe the Warriors are going to have to gel with Boogie Cousins out there, but you know what? That's their problem. Right now, the Rockets have none.
Including playoffs, the Rockets are now 8-5 in the last 13 games against the
What is
Warriors.
that about,
As Kevin mentioned, well, first of all, they can score, number one. That has a lot to do with it, and they were defending, especially last year in the playoffs. You go into Game 6 and Game 7 last season, they had double-digit leads in both of those games, and that was without Chris Paul. I thought what was interesting, you don't have Harden. All we've heard all year long was the Rockets getting criticized. They can only play one way. They need Harden to carry them all the time. The other night, by the way, Chris Paul had 17 assists in that game. The other thing I thought that was interesting, Harden comes out, criticizes the refs. They fine him $25,000, and what do you know? He comes down with a case of like a stomach flu or food poisoning.
What are you saying?
And doesn't play in the nationally televised.
What are you saying? Listen to this hot take.
I didn't say anything. I'm just saying.
I didn't say anything. No. Don't mean no disrespect, but here's some disrespect. Bill Plaschke, how about you?
You guys are all assuming a lot of things. You're assuming Harden and Paul can play together. Since Paul came back, I believe they're just 5-5. Paul was great on Saturday because Harden wasn't there. Can they learn to play together? Can Harden learn to give in to Paul and let him control more of the offense? Number two, can Chris Paul stay healthy? That's also a huge if. Number three, the Rockets they can still, and I saw it in L.A. on Thursday night, they can still shoot themselves right out of a game. They shot themselves out of a 19-point lead against the Lakers. They're capable of doing that. I'm not sold.
So you're not sold on their chemistry. About that chemistry of the Warriors, though, Frank, the -1 with that lineup, how does that strike you?
Yeah, it's a concern, I think, especially defensively, still trying to figure out. I think this is why it was important that DeMarcus Cousins came back in January. That gives them a long time to really work him in. Do I think the Rockets are a threat? Absolutely. Who am I betting on in a 7-game series? It's still the Golden State Warriors.
That video of Draymond Green going down and Steve Kerr, and it's actually the whole bet. It's actually everybody in the arena. Look, they have no idea he's going down and falling into their lap.
There is no way they have no idea, Tony. They have to see that. They have to see it, and they're ignoring it because they're sick of him doing all that flopping. Look at that. They had to see it.
Where's Woody Page? That's literally, you're too far in the forest to see the trees. That's what that is right there. We'll move on. Now let's talk the NFL statement on Robert Kraft. It makes specific mention of the league's personal conduct policy applying to all, and that appropriate action will be based on the facts. Kevin Blackistone, how do you consider the position the NFL finds itself in, and do you have faith in this process?
Well, I don't necessarily have faith in the process, but they've got, it seems to me, one of two choices. They can do what they did to Jim Irsay, which is suspend him for a good chunk, or they can do what they did to Eddie DiBartolo, which was kick him out for a whole year. That's the biggest penalties they've handed down to owners. Clearly, they're going to have to do something, and clearly they're just going to have to wait and see what the final judgment is on KRAFT in this situation before they lower the boom.
You mentioned DiBartolo, you mentioned Irsay. Isn't there another option? I mean, when you see Jerry Richardson recently in the last year. But that's the big one, right? Frank Isola, as you consider it all, what's on the table here as far as punishment?
Well, I think what the NFL, and it was a smart move by them, they're telling you, listen, just slow down. We're going to do something. We want to wait to see all the facts coming because everyone is jumping to conclusions saying, hang on a second. With a player, you would suspend them right away. Something is going to happen to Robert Kraft. Who knows how long the suspension will be? Because remember, the conduct policy calls for owners, league employees to be held to a higher standard. Is there a chance the franchise, they might say to him, take a back seat and let your son run it? To me, that would be the extreme example. I would think between a 4 and 6 game suspension is probably in order here for Robert Kraft.
Go Plaschke.
Yeah, all weekend I heard players complaining, what are they going to do? Are they going to treat him like they treat us? Well, they're showing him that, yes, they're going to treat him like they treat anybody else. And I don't think we can talk about a penalty because we don't know all the facts. We don't know. We haven't seen anything. There's no video release. We don't know how bad this could be. This could be anything from the misdemeanor to something much more horrifying. We just don't know. And the NFL is just saying, take it slow. Let's check all the facts. They're very, very smart to do that.
And, J.A., I want you to answer this from an NFL perspective, but also from a journalism perspective. We've got J.A., professor of journalism at Northwestern, Kevin Blackstone, professor of journalism at Maryland with us. First, J.A.
Well, the key word there, we're seeking a full understanding of the facts. And you would think that would go without saying, but you wonder if the NFL is really going to do that, in particular with regard to the video. The police department said there is video evidence here, and the NFL has been burned in the past by failing to get their hands on the video for Ray Rice and Kareem Hunt. Will they learn from their mistakes and do everything it takes, no matter what it takes, to get their hands on the video so they don't get embarrassed after the legal process has played out and we see the video and after the NFL has acted? Will it be sufficient action if and when the video is released to make everyone feel like the NFL did this the right way?
That's well said. And that also applies, I'm going to say, to reporters in journalism, right? Haven't we seen in any number of stories in the last month, 2 months?
Including one that allegedly took place about a few blocks from where I am right now with Jesse Smollett.
Yes, KB, you want to address that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as journalists, we obviously have to comb through all the information, find out exactly what the facts are. Sometimes, oftentimes, that's harder than it seems.
And oftentimes it involves waiting.
Well.
Yes, all right. Taking a break right here. Buy or sell is next. Thanks for your thoughts on that. Here's something bizarre from the weekend I want you to take a look at. Check out Thomas Bryant. Favorite pieces of video ever. Carlos Boozer. Full mortal combat on a referee. That this happened
That Danny Crawford?
is an incredible thing. All right, we'll be back. Buy or sell on the other side.
Danny Crawford's a tough guy. He can take that.
I mean,
you know, sometimes we feel like we're afraid to be uncomfortable, kind of get out of our comfort zone, you know, kind of, you know, have that sense of urgency, you know, from the jump, and not be afraid to actually go out and fail to succeed.
staying with the theme of losing when you're playing a team with other best players, Pelicans, no Anthony Davis, beat the Lakers by 13. LeBron, again, talking about the Lakers, again, needing to show urgency, again. Bill, buy or sell?
Here, once I thought LeBron was going to carry into the playoffs, now he just dropped him again. This is all on LeBron. I mean, he needs to buy in more. If you see some of the video from that game, him playing defense, matador defense against the Pelicans, his body language is terrible. His team sees it. Look at the Kyle Kuzma quotes after the same game, talking about body language. That's a veiled reference to LeBron. He needs to pick it up.
Jay Donde?
Exactly, Bill. Well, that's why I'll buy LeBron calling out his teammates at the risk of alienation, because there already is alienation, and he's already made it clear that he envisions the path to a championship continuing on with a different cast of characters around him. So there was nothing to lose.
You're not in the alienation. You get in the alienation. Okay, I didn't see that going there, Donde. How about you, Stone?
Well, I'll sell it from this standpoint. You know, last week, LeBron was the one who talked about hitting his activated button, right, for this playoff.
Exactly.
But the problem is that the other players really don't have the same activated button to push. Even if they do push it, it's not going to be to LeBron's level, so it's going to have to live with it.
Yeah, he went from activated to deactivated. Who's he referring to? Because there's a lot of guys on that team that have been in high-level playoff games, a lot of guys that have won championships. He's clearly talking about Kuzma and Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram had 29 in the win, 27 in the loss. Everything that he says now, and Bill mentioned it, the body language is so bad. I think the players are tuning LeBron out because of this whole Anthony Davis thing.
I love when you guys start breaking down body language. You're the experts. How's your body language right now? How's this looking? How is the language of the body right there? All right. College basketball rankings, number 1. Yo, out. Who is it? Who is it for you? Gonzaga,
Duke.
Virginia, Duke,
Gonzaga.
Kentucky. You're going to buy or sell that also. This from Calipari, speaking of Kentucky, that the one and done being done will be a good thing for him, that he could kiss Adam Silver. Buy or sell that, J.A.?
I'll buy it. Look, he went to the Final Four with UMass and with Memphis in the era before one and done. So don't hate on him just because he mastered the one and done era, which Coach K has kind of sneakily taken from him. So he'll be able to thrive no matter what the rules are.
Those Final Four banners still up there? I wonder. Blackistone, how about you?
Yeah, I think Calipari can manipulate any system and any rules that you put in front of him. Everybody else is trying to catch up to what he's doing. He'll be one sneaker ahead of them by the time they get there.
Isola? Okay.
I thought you did there.
As the only panelist who drove 3.5 hours on Saturday not to see Zion Williamson play, here's the thing. Duke, Kentucky, they'll be okay. It doesn't matter. Those teams have specialized in the one and done. They'll still get the players because of the programs and the coaches that they have here.
Oh, I don't agree. I think Cal's backed himself into a corner here. I think how does he sell his program? He sells it as a 6-month training ground for the NBA. That's how he sells it. He can't sell it that way anymore. He doesn't sell Kentucky. He doesn't sell the Bluegrass. He doesn't sell himself. He sells 6 months. Now that the players don't need those 6 months, they won't be coming there. I think he's going to be hurting.
Okay. All right. Buy or sell 3. The pitch clock you're seeing in spring training games. You guys like it? Max Scherzer does not like it. Quote, it just shouldn't be in the game. Having a pitch clock, if it's ball strike implications, that's messing with the fabric of the game. There's no clock in baseball, and there's no clock in baseball for a reason. Kevin, buy or sell? There's no clock in baseball.
Absolutely. I buy anything that Max Scherzer is selling. Are you kidding me? And he's absolutely right. You're talking about a guy whose pace right now as a pitcher is something like 24 seconds between pitches. That's fine. He doesn't need a clock telling him to hurry up.
I sold that. How about you?
There's no crying about clocks in baseball. I don't like the clock at all. Get the umpire to get the batter in the box, limit the amount of throws you can make to first base when a runner is on first, and be a little bit quicker with the pitching changes. Make it 2 warm-up pitches. Let's get the game going. No clock.
Flash.
Hey, Max, there is a clock in baseball. It's in minor league baseball. It's been there for several years. It works. You'll get used to it. Just wait. Just pipe down and wait. You'll get used to it.
Bill, you're the baseball traditionalist. You want to see a clock? What do you want to hear when the clock goes up? A buzzer? A bell? Do you want the ref to the umpire to blow a whistle or throw a penalty flag like a delay of game penalty? What is problem with you, Plasky? It looks completely out of place. It would sound completely out of place. Get the clock out.
Can I nominate a horn? If you're going to use something, use a horn. Speaking of clock.
It fits on this show, not on a baseball stadium.
Your biological clock is ticking like this, Blackistone, Isola, Flashky Adane. That's going to be our showdown next. Stick around.
Oh, yeah. Battle for... No, not for L.A., because I'm L.A. now.
Yeah, Bill. Bill, Plashky, J. Adane, they know each other from the LA Times for a decade and a half. Bill wants you to make sure you know he's from Los Angeles. We needed to say that. Showdown 1, no trade zones for Antonio Brown. Steelers say they won't trade him to an AFC North team, and they won't trade him to the New England Patriots. Would you call that wise, Bill Plashky, or they limit their options?
No, I would call that unwise. They're limiting their options. If they get a great draft pick haul from any of those teams, they need to take it. Their fans will understand this. They need to get something for Antonio Brown, and they can't play favorites on this. And again, I don't see the Patriots or some other team in the NFC North coming back to haunt them on this. They need to make the deal, the best deal they can.
Bill, you think the fans are going to understand? Oh, we got a draft pick in 2021 when Antonio Brown is helping to put the Steelers out of the playoffs. No, you send him to the NFC so you don't have to deal with them until the Super Bowl in your worst case scenario. They're passionate fans. They don't want to see Antonio Brown putting them out.
Limit your options. Why would you limit your options?
Point J.A. Adande. Showdown 2. Check this out. Chelsea manager calling to sub out his keeper 3 minutes before PKs. Keeper's like, I'm all good. I'm good. And the official announcing the sub is like, what do you want from me? Who you got, Jay? Keeper or coach?
I'm with the keeper. He's working on a clean sheet, right? It should be like baseball. If you want to take me out of the game, you should be like a baseball manager. Come out here to my face and take me out. Don't wave me out from the sideline. I got a clean sheet working. I'm not hurt. I'm staying in unless you come get me.
J.A., he can't come out. It's again, the coaches don't come on the field in soccer. He was doing the equivalent of coming to the mound by waving him from the sidelines. I'm with the coach on this. The coach says, you go, you go. We all know athletes who complain and say, leave me in the game. But the coach knows better. Get him out. The coach says, get him out, get him out.
You guys remember Mike Messina and Joe Torre doing this once? Messina told Torre to get back in the dugout, and Torre was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I thought that was great.
Hall of Fame
a clean sheet he had a clean fade as well, that keeper. Point, game, fade, and game time going to J.A. Adande.
Over the weekend, several members of the Mississippi basketball team kneeled during the national anthem. They did this to counteract a march of neo-Confederates nearby. Now, I appreciate the efforts of the basketball players and the refusal to back down in the face of racism, but they might want to rethink the method, because you protest the national anthem if you're protesting American policies. This was not an American policy at stake here. In fact, this was a celebration of American policies. I celebrate the First Amendment, which allowed both sides to express themselves, even if one side was doing so in the support of loser, traitor, racist. They still have the right to do so. American policy allows that.
Thanks for your time, Jay. We're on a 23.5-hour break. We got some CBA men in the house. This is for you.